everybody, welcome to Life Group again. I hope you've had a good afternoon, and I think tonight's discussion has the opportunity to present some real good conversation as you talk about Acts chapter 1 and the text from this morning as we looked at some key doctrines, the doctrine of the Holy Spirit and then the doctrine of the ascension of Jesus Christ. And really, as we saw in the doctrine of the Holy Spirit, the fact that God has not left us to do the work of ministry in our own power, but He's given us the Spirit to work in us and work through us. Tonight you're going to be looking at some passages in the Gospel of John where Jesus promised the coming of the Holy Spirit, how He would be a comforter, and how through the Holy Spirit we would do even greater works than what Jesus did. On the other end of the sermon, we saw this morning the ascension of Jesus. And as I thought about it, as I prepared this message, I don't know that I've ever preached a sermon exclusively on Christ's ascension, but there is really a whole lot to that, and I was encouraged as I studied it this week, as I considered how Jesus went back into heaven, where He reigns. He's at the right hand of the Father, and where He is interceding for us. But I think the big component this morning, the big idea, came out of Acts chapter 1, verse number 8, where we are told, we are instructed that we are to be His witnesses. And we looked at that word, the Greek word martyrs, our word martyr coming from that, and how there are many people who have in fact died for following Jesus, died for faithfully proclaiming Jesus. But I did stress this morning that there's also the idea of dying to ourselves. And I think that's particularly important for us. Not that we couldn't be called on to die for our faith, surely we could, but every day, tomorrow when you go to school, when you go to work, we're going to be called to die to our schedules, to die to our prejudices, to die to our perceived rights. And so the gospel going forth, being His witnesses, this idea of dying to what we want, knowing that the Holy Spirit is working through us to accomplish His mission. So I hope you'll take a good look at this tonight as you, particularly if you were in church this morning, if you think back to the illustration that I used about the world in 10 people. I hope you'll be able to have some conversation about the 2+ billion that are basically cut off from the gospel for all practical purposes. If you ask them, who is Jesus? They would essentially say, Jesus, who is that? That should concern us. So may the Lord bless you as you meet tonight and as you talk about Acts chapter 1.